Hey everybody, I'm JimClassic and you are watching Geekin It, and I just paid $31 for this guy. Am I an idiot? Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, the tariffs are here. And wow, did they just come in like a wrecking ball, to quote a popular song from 10, 12 years ago. But yeah, Transformers Retro Series Deluxe Class Seaspray. Got them at Walmart, and the markup is absolutely insane, and I have to be insane for shelling out the money for this. I also saw Ironhide, which I really did want to get because I like that alternate head sculpt, but quite frankly, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for Ironhide to either show up on clearance or at Ollie's. I already have Studio Series Brawn. I already have the dead version of Studio Series 86 Brawn. You know, alternate head sculpt Brawn for $31 is not worth it. And quite frankly, this is probably going to be the second to last Transformer that I am going to buy for a while. I say second to last because I am just one scavenger away from completing Studio Series 86 Devastator. And, well, I'm not going to let that, that's probably going to be the last Transformer I buy for a while. So, please feel free to call me out if I buy a third one, because I might deserve it after that. But, yeah, $31 for this figure. And, yes, this is going to be a toy review. I am going to open this figure up and talk about it and review it. But I just... $31. And I can't believe I actually pulled the trigger on this. But, this is reality, at least for the time being. And, we either got to accept it and move on, or... draw a line somewhere. And not to get too ahead of myself, because I'm probably going to repeat myself at the end of this video, but Seaspray here, and of course Studio Series 86 Scavenger might be the line I draw for the time being. And just wait for things to go on clearance if that happens. But we'll have to wait and see, and hopefully I have the fortitude to hold that line. But anyway, enough. I'm getting off the soapbox. Let's talk about the card before opening this guy up. Anywho, as I said, Transformers Retro Edition Autobot Seaspray. This is a figure that was announced a while ago. Been looking forward to this. Seaspray was, I suppose you could count him as one of my favorite mini-bots as a kid. Warpath probably being my favorite. Seaspray maybe being a close second, maybe a close third if you count Cosmos. I don't know, but he was up there in my personal ranks. Anyway, we see Seaspray there on card. Nice clear, bubble there. Of course, we have the card with the nice G1 box art there. Now, this is supposed to be a retro series based off of the original toy. I'm already seeing a difference between this head sculpt and the painting there of the original artwork. So we're not as accurate as we were with Gears, for example. And but regardless, I do like the retro packaging. It would almost be a shame to open this guy up, but I'm not spending another $31 to keep it on the card. Moving things on the back, you see the, what was this, the Series 2 artwork, of the Dinobots flying in space with Jetfire, and, there's at least three Grimlocks, well, no, I think that's a transformation, but there's at least two Grimlocks flying around. You see Sludge, you see, well, there's two Slags as well, bunch of Insecticons, there's Shockwave flying around. But yeah, nice artwork. This has always been classic, beautiful artwork. And of course, we have the bio and tech specs right here. Function, naval defense. Be as unyielding as the ocean waves, and your enemies shall fall. Displays a zest for his job, unmatched by fellow Autobots. Loves the ocean and its creatures. Loves the thrill of naval battle. Here we have Seaspray. So, enough talking about the packaging. Let's open this guy up and just see what he is all about. Okay, now that we've gotten Seaspray out of the package, first off, I would like to say I did a very clean job removing the bubble from the packaging. I mean, you know, this is always inevitable, but, you know, all things considered, pretty good shape. Anyway, so Seaspray, first impressions, yeah, I'm really digging this guy. Is he $31 worth though? Probably not. But this is such a fun and chunky robot mode. I mean, this is pretty much how Seaspray looked in the cartoon show. I mean, I think the head sculpt was a little bit different from the actual animation model, but I mean, this is what you got when you saw Seaspray, you know? He's got a simple color palette. You know, we got like the white plastic here. I think the tummy here is white paint, but we got yellow here for the propellers and the legs. Got a little bit of yellow there on the joints. Nice blue plastic. Everything feels solid. Everything feels good, tight, you know, tight joints. It's got a good range of motion for someone this chunky. The only issue with the head is that, you know, it's kind of difficult to move the head around with the propeller assembly here. But, you know, and it is a tight ball joint, but you can move that head all the way around. He can kind of look down, but not really. He can kind of look up, but not really. Tilt side to side. It is a ball joint, but a very, very limited ball joint. You might as well have just made it a swivel and called it a day. But, you know, full rotation there in the shoulders, though. Watch the propellers. More than 90 degree bend in the elbow. No wrist swivel, but, you know, you can move his, you can pivot his wrist up and down, but that's, okay, we're not doing that. Waist rotation, not bad. I think there's, never mind. I thought this was paint, but I think it's actually a separate piece there in the crotch assembly or the pelvis assembly. But anyway, he can only kick up that high because of this thing. This does get in the way of the kick. You would have to rotate the waist, and oh, you can't even do that. Oh, that's even worse. Nope. You can't give this man any high kick. That is the best Seaspray can do. I mean, unless you want to force it, which I don't recommend, but he can kick back all the way. So we can do that, but he cannot. Yeah, you can't really kick well. That's a. You can kind of force it a little bit. Again, I don't necessarily recommend it. Watch. We're gonna see. It kind of clashes right there. So, yeah, okay. It kind of works now that I've done it a couple times. Let's try it on this side. Okay, that worked. Okay, all right. Maybe I was wrong. I might have been mistaken. This is what happens when you don't script. You know, you're always surprised. But yeah, okay, now we can do a high kick. But before there was a little bit of resistance, but you know, not anymore. But okay, cool. He can do a kick. Now the knee bend, not a big fan of that knee cut right there, but it is a good bend, and it's slightly over 90 degrees. He can kind of tilt the foot down a little bit, but that's where the hinge is, and you know, I don't know if that's really such a great idea, but he can. Let's see, and let's check on that ankle pivot. Not really. Wow, really? That's the best he can do? Yep. That ankle pivot is. Let's see. Let me look. Hold on. I was wrong about the high kick. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Nope. See, there's the joint right there for the ankle pivot, all the way up here in the middle of the leg. So yeah, that's his best. That's the best Seaspray can do. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a shame. But so these big boats that are his feet don't really have a lot of ankle articulation to them, and that's a shame. But I will say this, there is a 3mm port in Seaspray's back. just when I thought Hasbro was doing away with them, maybe they really aren't, and it just wasn't feasible on some of the figures that I have previously talked about. So, and of course we have 5mm ports on the arms and the back, and the bottoms of the feet, of course the hands, and Seaspray can hold his nicely painted silver gun. And that's pretty much it for the robot mode. I mean, it is a decent robot mode. The joints are tight. You know, I was, like I said, totally mistaken about that high kick. Ankle pivot is it's kind of a letdown. I've definitely seen much better, but just a chunky, fun mini bot, and I'm really liking this guy. Do I like him $31 worth, though? I'm not. I shouldn't. Who am I to complain? I bought the guy. Oh, also, lastly, I forgot to talk about, the propellers are on pins and are, pretty good. You can spin them, do all sorts of cool stuff. So that's not so bad. But before we get this guy in the vehicle mode, let's just compare him with a few other figures first. Okay, it's time for some comparisons, and we're going to start off with Seasprays, starting with, there we go, the G1 Seaspray, who's not in the best condition, but okay, he's standing. And next up is going to be the Hunt for the Decepticons Voyager class Seaspray. Who remembers this champion? Like, this guy has been in my collection for years, and I'm so happy to have that guy. Of course, Titan's Return Seaspray, who's, not that bad. I mean, so far, this guy is definitely superior in the robot mode. And, but you know what? He's still... Titan's Return one is not bad. He definitely embodies the mini-bot rather well. And, he's got some limitations, of course, but he's not bad. He's still not bad. But, yeah, here are the Seasprays, at least all the ones that I have. And they're all looking... Well, no, actually, I'm sorry. I did leave out G2 Seaspray. But, look, it's the same one as this guy, just metallic blue. But anyway, yeah. So, here are my Seasprays, and they're all looking pretty good. So, moving on to the Retro Collection side, which, Seaspray is only my second one, we have Gears, which I did in a previous video. Of course, his head sculpt is more toy accurate. Well, both of their head sculpts are more toy accurate. It's just that Seaspray's is also similar enough to the cartoon accurate. He's just missing the blue eyes. But, yeah, I mean, there's nothing else really to compare this guy to, because there is no Legacy mold of Seaspray. There is no Studio Series mold of Seaspray. Right now, I mean, Hasbro just jumping out of the gate with this guy for the retro line, and I'm guessing we'll get an Age of the Prime Seaspray eventually with the blue eyes, probably, maybe a different deco. I don't know, but these two are looking pretty good together. Of course, speaking of mini bots, here is the buzzworthy Bumblebee. Bumblebee. This is the one who's not a VW Beetle. Just for the heck of it, Legacy Prime, who's really short compared to, actually, no, he is still taller. He is still taller than Seaspray if you're looking at a head height. But, still, I mean, Optimus should be, like, up to here. But, whatever. Legacy Prime is a short king, I suppose. And Age of the Prime's Venom, if you want to get technical. I wasn't planning on doing a review of this guy, but Venom is kind of cool. He is probably not my favorite Insecticon, but he is my last of the Insecticons. And he's not bad. He's pretty cool. Just 10-second review right there. Anyway, let's get this guy into vehicle mode. All right, so transforming Seaspray into his hovercraft mode. Now, this is a rather interesting transformation, and it gets a little tricky for a guy of this size, but it's not bad. It's going to take a little bit of learning. But we're going to start by rotating the head 180 degrees, okay? We're going to pinch the sides of Seaspray to open up the belly a little bit, and then this back flap is going to open. So basically the whole assembly kind of lifts up. There we go. See that? Kind of just lifts up like that. And we're going to tab it like so. Now, the shoulder pieces are going to swivel all the way down here because it's on this oval assembly right here, this oval-shaped assembly. And just kind of put that back panel and close it over the face. Okay? There we go. like so. All right. Now, what's next is we open up the feet. See the pontoons, or I don't know if this is a pontoon, but the part of the hovercraft, the hovery part of the hovercraft. Open all this stuff up. This is kind of inside the foot. There we go. And these tabs in the back are going to open up like so, and this piece is going to be in the middle. Now, what we're going to do is untab the ankles from here, and we're going to kind of assembly that down like so, and we can put the feet together at this stage. Now, what we're doing is these pieces are going to go down. I think I'm doing that next. Yeah, those pieces go down like so. Oh, not yet. I got ahead of myself. We still need these pieces open because the entire pelvis is going to hinge back into, there we go, like that. So that I skipped over a step. My bad. And then we rotate the legs this way. Kind of looks like everything's coming together. We're going to tab these two pieces into the yellow parts, and the yellow parts are going to tab here into the white parts, like so. Now we can put these little belly pieces down, like so. We're going to rotate the arms. We're going to rotate the arms, and we're going to kind of just peg them into the other half of the hovercraft, the floaty part. I don't know, the hovercraft piece. There we go. And there we go. Make sure it's in. Oh, there we go. That wasn't tabbed in fully. So that should hold that in place. And then we just rotate the bridge or the cockpit. And here we have Seaspray in hovercraft mode. And again, chunky bot mode, chunky vehicle mode. I love this thing. This is exactly how the J1 toy looks. I mean, there's it's all hollow under here, but this is great. I love this thing. It is so chunky and chubby and condensed, and it looks like a hovercraft. It also looks like it's right out of the cartoon, kind of, with those these weird scrunched, squished proportions, but I love it. You got of course, the black there from the, I guess these are windows? I don't really know. The black there from the windows, I guess the bridge section. I didn't point out the tampograph. No, these aren't tampograph. These are sculpted and painted details. I'm sorry, I thought this was tampographed. But no, right here you have the sculpted. Right here you have sculpted and painted detail right there. And it's very fine work. As you see, there's a little red outline, the blue, the yellow. It's nicely, cleanly painted. This is the only Autobot badge that is visible on Seaspray. Normally, I don't like when they do the badges at seams, but this is seamed together pretty well. Of course, the gun does have weapon storage right here in this little peg right here on the side of the propellers. I forgot to point that out for the robot mode, but so he can, the Naval Defense Commander, or whatever he is, Naval Defense Autobot, can at least defend himself in combat on the high seas. But yeah, this is cool. I really dig this hovercraft. Of course, we still have the 5mm ports, so you can weaponize this guy out, fossilize him, whatever you want. Hell, you can still use the hands for weaponized parts. So, you have all this stuff open to... Oh, this unpegged. That's not cool. All right. You gonna give us problems, Seaspray? No? Okay. Anyway. So, yeah, you still got the weapon port options. This is cool. I really like this guy. First impressions go... I really like it. No major issues. I heard that these side pieces do come off, but mine have not. So, but yeah, really cool figure. Was he worth $31? Probably not. Am I a fool for buying him for $31? Yeah, I am, and I'll admit that. I'll own that. And I'm not buying any more of these retro figures. I'm not buying any more Transformers, except for Scavenger. As long as these price hikes continue, or I get a really good pay raise and I can afford to buy more, that might change. But yeah, I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for the rest of these guys to just show up on clearance at Ollie's or at Walmart's clearance shelf. I'm going to wait. And if I lose out on them, well, you know what? I'm just gonna have to learn. I'm just gonna have to learn that, you know, FOMO ain't that bad once you get used to it, okay? But anyway. Okay, so just a few comparisons here for Seaspray. Let us break out the original G1 for scale and context. Of course, we cannot forget the mighty Hunt for the Decepticons Voyager class version of Seaspray, and the Titan's Return one, which the Titan's Return one is still actually pretty good in my opinion. I mean, this might be the best one out of all of them, but let's take a look. Let's take a gander at these Seasprays just for a second, all in vehicle mode. They all look good in their own ways, and they just kind of look really awesome. Here, let's move some of these guys out of the way, because we got to make room for Legacy Optimus Prime, which is kind of tiny by comparison. The Retro Gears, which I did in a previous video. Of course, buzzworthy Bumblebee, or the sedan version of Bumblebee. And lastly, Venom from Age of the Primes right there. So that's kind of how Seaspray looks compared to all these figures. I mean, you know, not counting Seaspray, Optimus still looks really tiny compared to all these other guys. But Legacy Prime, still a good toy, regardless of its size. That has been my look at the Retro Collection Deluxe Class Seaspray. And, yeah, you know, I'm really happy with this figure. I do like it. It wasn't $31 worth, that is for sure. And, you know, yeah, you can call me a fool for spending the money on this. I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit. I've got a twinge of buyer's remorse. I really do, but at the same time, I am enjoying this figure. I will proudly put this guy in my collection. It's just, he is the second to last Transformer I'm going to buy for a while, unless I get a pay raise or the costs come down, or, you know, these guys show up on clearance. I would love to get Ironhide. I'm sorry, a Brawn. I would love to get Retro Collection Brawn, but I'm going to wait till he shows up on clearance. I'm going to wait till he shows up at Ollie's or whatever. I mean, now, I haven't done the video for this guy yet, but I got this guy for $30 on Amazon Prime Day, okay? I got this gigantic doofus here for $30. And this guy was $30 at retail, you know, but obviously not on sale, but still. You know, this is more worth the money so far, in my humble opinion. And I'm getting to the review on this guy. I'm getting ahead of myself, but $30. $30. Nah, I'm definitely holding off. And that's a shame, because, you know, I'm a toy collector. I enjoy collecting toys. Collecting toys has been a hobby throughout most of my life. And now I'm just going to have to go cold turkey. I mean, this is kind of the last cigarette before I give it up, you know? Or second to last cigarette before giving it up. But you know, now I gotta call it quits for a while. Yeah, okay, it's a shame. My wallet is gonna thank me, that's for sure. But you know, these are the things we gotta do. You know, I'm not gonna give Hasbro all of my money, and nobody should. You know, collecting should be fun. And once it becomes way too expensive, it no longer becomes fun. Don't get me wrong, I am not advocating or pushing that we all just go on a massive boycott on buying our figures. I mean, I do have a feeling that is going to be a consequence of this, but I'm not necessarily advocating for it. I'm just saying, I'm not going to buy another action figure or Transformer while these tariffs are going on. Unless I either have the funds or it's something I absolutely really want. Like, I've gotten most of the Primes. I don't really care about Amalgamus Prime. I don't really care about my Cronus Prime. Maybe if I find them on clearance, I'll pick them up. But, you know, these are Primes I don't really care about. I got the Fallen. I got Vector Prime, which, you know, I got mixed feelings about him. I got Solus Prime and McAdam, whoever McAdam is, Alchemist, and I got those other guys. It's just, some of these Primes I don't really care all that much about, but I will buy them if I see them on clearance. You know, I will probably pull the trigger if that's the case. And if that's the lesson Hasbro's got to learn, that's the lesson Hasbro's got to learn. You know, I've been poor and broke before, and I didn't buy everything under the sun. And damn it, I can do it again. Except this time I'm not as poor. I'm just, you know, they have priced everything out of my comfort zone. But anyway, this might also give me an opportunity to work on other videos that I've been wanting to work on. I didn't just want to be a toy channel. I wanted to talk about, you know, kind of geek news, and I did stuff about, you know, with Star Wars shows that were on. I want to do other things too. It's just, I kind of fell into this habit of doing toy reviews because they're fun. I enjoy doing them, but, you know, this might give me an opportunity to break out and to do other videos, or if I'm still going to do toys, I do have a whole backlog of action figures I could just be reviewing. I never did Deathosaurus. I recently, you know, I did that short on, I did that quick introduction video on Omega Prime. You know, I never did a full review of Magmatron. I never did a full video on Magmatron. So there's other things. There's a ton of toys I still haven't even touched yet. I mean, I've opened them up and everything, but, you know, maybe this might be a chance to go through my backlog, since I probably won't be getting too many new figures down the road. But anyway, who knows? Who knows what the future will bring? So that has been my look on Transformers Retro Edition Deluxe Class Seaspray. He's got a great bot mode and a really good boat mode too. I hope you like this review. I hope you like this toy if you have it. If you were crazy enough to buy it like me, let me know in the comments section what you think of this character. Anyway, that's it. I think I'm out. I'm JimClassic. You have been watching Geekin It, and I will see you guys later. Take care, everybody.